So welcome everybody. So glad you're here. I actually, as folks were putting in where they're from, I saw Japan there too. I think that probably takes the cake for the furthest away this evening. So we're so happy that you guys could join us through this virtual format. My name is Melody O'Neill. I'm the Associate Admission Director at Landmark. I'm in my 27th year here. I've been here a long time. I worked at the high school for a number of years as a teacher, an academic advisor, tutor, and I've been in the admission office for quite some time now, and love everything about Landmark, which is why I've been here for so long. And we have many of our faculty that have been here for quite a long time because it's such an amazing community, and most importantly, amazing students who make incredible gains while they're here, and it's an awesome thing to be a part of. So welcome, and I get to be a part of it not only from a professional standpoint as somebody who works here, but also as a parent. My daughter did a number of summer programs here, and my son is a current 8th grader at our middle school, transitioning over to Landmark High School next year. So I also know what it's like from the parent perspective as well. So I'm going to take you guys through a presentation, as Katie mentioned, and when that wraps up, there'll be some administrators on the call to answer questions, and then we're going to have a student panel as well. So plenty of opportunities throughout this evening, hopefully, to get all your questions answered. But please know that you can reach out to our office at any time if your question for some reason doesn't get answered this evening, and we're happy to have conversations with you after tonight. So if you just bear with me for a sec, I'm going to share the screen so I can get the presentation up and running. Let's see. Okay. And Katie, can you just confirm for me that you can see everything okay?
Yeah, it looks great. So hopefully those of you joining, this should be taking up the entirety of your screen. If you're having any technical concerns, use that chat bar feature. And again, if you have any questions about the content that Melody's presenting on, feel free to throw a question in the chat to ensure we get to it when we shift to the Q&A. All right, take it away, Melody. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so what we're going to start, well, first of all, welcome. We're going to start things off by talking about who our students are at Landmark. What's our population of students that we support here? Landmark is a language-based program. We've been in existence since 1971. So we're past our 50-year anniversary, and started off a lot smaller with about 45 students total, and now we have about 475 students between our two campuses. We have an elementary middle school, grades 2 through 8, a few miles down the road from our high school campus. And our high school campus, we have 300 students. And we serve a very specific group of kids here at Landmark. So I want to take a minute to talk about who our kids are. In terms of their characteristic traits and you know, they're bright students that come to Landmark, kids that are well-adjusted and curious and eager to learn. They have a lot of potential. Our students are highly motivated and really want to do well in school. A lot of them have had difficult prior school experiences, maybe in public school or another private school where their needs weren't really being met, but they've really demonstrated a level of resiliency to still want to be a good student and do well in school. So they're very resilient and capable individuals. So those are some characteristics of our students, and they come to Landmark and bring those positive attributes with them when they start receiving the right kind of instruction here. We really see them take off because they are these bright, motivated, and very capable kids. In terms of the learning profile, as I mentioned, we're a school that works with students who have what we call language-based learning disabilities or language-based learning differences. It's really an umbrella term that we think about here at Landmark, where there's a number of possible specific labels or diagnoses that can fall within this umbrella. Probably between 65–70% of our students at the high school are pretty classically dyslexic in terms of having a phonologically based reading disability. So these would be students that would struggle with those word attack skills for decoding encoding, reading fluency. And so sometimes it's labeled as a specific LD, specific learning disability in reading, but we think of it here as dyslexic, having dyslexia. We also have students that come to Landmark that have a disorder of written expression. So they may have all of these wonderful, great ideas, but their ability to organize those ideas in a clear, concise way, get them down on paper, elaborate, can be a real struggle for a lot of our students. We have a number of students here who have some weaknesses in terms of language processing and production. So they have the comprehension of the language coming in, but they may have difficulty with the word retrieval and the oral formulation and output of language. So they may demonstrate an expressive language disorder or communication disorder, sometimes it's referred to. And for most all of our students, I would say at Landmark, there are aspects of executive function that our kids struggle with. So when you have a learning disability, there are going to be difficulties associated with that when it comes to planning and organization and time management and task initiation, the ability to shift sets from one thing to another, and figure out other effective study skills to implement. So we work on teaching all of those skills across curriculum with our students. And another area that we often see in terms of our student profile is that although our kids are very bright in terms of their comprehension and their big picture thinking and reasoning and visual spatial ability, a lot of our kids have some discrepancies with the working memory and or processing speed being a bit lower than that comprehension and reasoning ability. So that ability to hold on to a lot of information at once that they have to do something with, especially if that information is being presented orally and they need to listen auditorily. That's not typically a main strength for our students. Our students are doing better with the hands-on and the visuals and the kinesthetic approach. So we have to really micro unit and break things down for our students here. And processing speed really ties to how quickly and motorically students can output information. So that's really a quick synopsis of who our students are. They are socially, emotionally well-adjusted. We are not a therapeutic program. We cannot support students who have more primary social, emotional, and behavioral needs. We need for our students to be good, flexible thinkers, critical thinkers, and see the big picture. Students sometimes who have maybe what we refer to as like a nonverbal learning disability or ASD on the spectrum, we may not be the right fit for those students because those students really learn differently than the way we teach here and how our teachers are trained to teach. So it is this very narrow piece of the pie, these well-adjusted kids who get along well with their peers and who struggle with aspects of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So that's it in a nutshell. I did want to mention that when you apply to Landmark, couple things. First of all, we work on a rolling basis. There's no application deadline, whether you're looking at summer program or the academic year. It's one application and there are check boxes to indicate what you're applying for. Some families just for summer, some just for fall, or some may check off both that they're looking for summer and fall. There is a checklist of all of the information that we need to receive when you apply. And one of the most important elements for us is to get either private neuropsych testing or public school psychoeducational testing that's within 3 years of date of application. So one of the most important components of that testing is our ability to look at a student's cognitive functioning, their cognitive ability. It's measured by what we call the WISC. The WISC stands for the Wessler Intelligence Scale for Children. If your student is 16 or older, they may have had the WACE, which is just the adult version of this test. And it is important that we have, again, this specific cognitive measure when you're applying to Landmark. So kind of spiraling back to what I just mentioned in terms of our student profile, areas of strength cognitively for our students include the verbal comprehension, that's the understanding of language coming in, that receptive comprehension, the fluid reasoning, which is the big picture thinking and problem solving and integration of information. And then the visual spatial is like that hands-on, if you think of the architect, and again, that ability to kind of see the whole and benefit from visuals and hands-on. So those areas for our landmark students are real strengths, and they need to be strengths for our kids to access the curriculum here and make effective progress. Again, what I mentioned before is where the typical area of difficulty from a cognitive standpoint is that working memory and or processing speed, maybe not being commensurate with those other areas. So that's our cognitive profile. We do also ask for some measure of academic achievement testing and also a measure of what we call psychosocial adjustment. So those are typically rating scales that look at things like social skills and anxiety levels and attention and things like that. So all of that will come in as part of the application, along with references and school reports and copies of IEPs or 504s if there are any. And our office will keep in touch with you through email as you go through the process, letting you know what we have and what we still need in order to complete the application and for us to start our review of the material. Please know that it does take a little bit of time once we have a completed application with all of the materials. It's about a month or so for us to read everything and do our follow-up and get back to you about next steps. Okay, so let's move into now what's unique about Landmark in terms of our day-to-day and our programming. So I mentioned at the beginning, we're a high school campus of 300 students, grades 9 through 12. About half of our students commute as day students, and about half of our students live here as residents from all over. And in terms of what makes for a good language-based program and what's really unique about Landmark is this is the first and most important part, is the hallmark of really who we are, is this daily one-to-one tutorial. This is a language-based tutorial that focuses on remediating literacy and language skills, and it's completely individualized for each student. This is not what you would think of in public school, for example, as like academic support, where a student sits and works on homework and a teacher is there to help them with homework. This is its own class with its own diagnostic of goals. And again, it's designed for each student individually. You know, if we have a student coming in that has real gaps in basic word attack and decoding and fluency, that will be the focus of their tutorial. If we have a student coming in who has pretty solid decoding and fluency and needs to work more on reading comprehension strategies and writing skills, that will be the focus of their tutorial. So any and all of those skills can be encompassed in the tutorial, but it is a language-based tutorial. It's not, you know, again, a place to get help with math or science homework, for example. We do have usually 80 to 90 of our 300 students that are doing a very specific type of tutorial that we refer to as an early literacy tutorial. And this is really designed for those students who come to us with real gaps in the phonological awareness piece, where their word attack and decoding skills are pretty significantly behind still. So they will utilize a lot of the Linda Mood Bell LIPS program, and some Seeing Stars and some elements of other programs as well, such as Read Naturally and Great Leaps and Wilson. We don't want to have just one tool in the toolbox here at Landmark. We really believe in individualizing and figuring out which approach and program is going to work best for each student. But if you've heard of a lot of these other, like the OG, Orton, Gillingham, or Wilson, LIPS, Seeing Stars, these are all phonetic-based approaches towards teaching reading. And so we do have a number of students doing a lot of that specific work in their tutorial. But again, if we have a student coming to us that has solid decoding in place, then they're going to have a more traditional tutorial to focus on some of those other language and literacy skills. This tutorial happens every day, 5 days a week, for 50 minutes a day, just like all their other class periods. The class periods here are all 50 minutes each day, and this tutorial is one of their core classes each day. It's not before or after school. It's part of the day. Another thing that's really unique about Landmark and what makes for a good language-based program is to have small classes. Average class size here at Landmark are 6 to 8 students. We cannot go beyond 8. We're an approved program by the state. About half of our students here are funded by local public school districts, and about half of our students are privately placed. So our class sizes sometimes are as small as 4, but they do not go beyond 8. We place students in classes based on their ability level, not necessarily per grade. So we get calls all the time in the admission office where folks will ask us, oh, is your, sophomore 10th grade class full, or is your junior class full? That's not how we accept students here. We accept students until we're full as a school, until all of our tutorial teaching periods are full. But when we're grouping students in math and in science and in history and in English language arts, we're looking at things like the level of literacy, their working memory, their processing speed, and we're grouping students based on those abilities levels so that they feel like the 5 or 6 other students in the class with them are moving at the same pace as they are. It's the right level of challenge. The teacher can really gauge the pace of the class appropriately, the amount of homework that students can handle independently, based on the fact that all those students are kind of at the same ability level. We do parallel the mass curriculum frameworks here. So as I mentioned, we're approved. So the students are taking typical content area classes that they would have at any public school. They're going through the bio and the chem and the US and world history and the algebra and geometry. And so again, they're getting those core academic classes that they would have at any public school, but the delivery of instruction is different here. All of the teachers that teach here at Landmark have a master's in mild to moderate special education, or they're currently working towards that. Landmark has partnership with BU Wheelock. And for our faculty that don't yet have their master's, they are working towards that, taking classes and being supervised in the meantime. So about 70% of our high school faculty already have this higher level certification with mild to moderate special education master's degree. In terms of our approach, we are a language-based, skill-based program. So that means direct and explicit instruction. It doesn't mean we're a school that just provides accommodations, because accommodations are very different from remediation. Accommodation means things like, a student has extra time, preferential seating, gets the lecture notes in advance, but you're not teaching skills directly through accommodations. We remediate skills here, and we're consistent across curriculum. And that's very important, because in order for students to internalize the skills, they need to have consistent methodology so that it allows them the opportunity to internalize and then start to independently apply these skills. I'll give you an example of, we're teaching kids how to take good 2-column notes, or if they're using certain templates for the writing process, they're going to use the same types of consistent templates, whether they're writing for an English class or a paper for a history class. We're going to teach kids the 5-step writing process consistently. So it's really working on these strategies across curriculum. We do have within our high school 3 distinct programs. And I want to be really clear about what that means. So Landmark High School as a whole is a college preparatory high school. All of our students are very bright. All of our students are college bound should they choose to want to go to college. So what program a student goes in when they start here at Landmark has nothing to do with how smart they are or their potential to go to college. The reason for the 3 programs is that we have students that enter Landmark with different skill sets that may or may not be in place. And we want to meet the students where they are and start to remediate those skills. So while a student is with us, if they're here for all 4 years or 3 years or 2 years, there may be movement within the programs as they gain skills. So what I want to talk about first is our traditional founders program. The largest majority of the students at Landmark are in our founders program. This again is our traditional program. There are 6 content classes in the day. We have the students taking math, science, social studies, English language arts, which focuses on grammar and written composition. The students in our founders program get that one-to-one tutorial that I talked about. And this may be a traditional tutorial, or it may be that early literacy tutorial that I mentioned, if that's what a student needs. And then their 6th academic class in the day, we decide based on what we see from testing and the student's profile in terms of what they need. Is this a student with real gaps in basic literacy, in which case they need an extra small group reading fluency class in addition to their tutorial. If not, maybe they need a study skills class or maybe a literature class. Again, Landmark decides this based on the student profile. So that's our traditional founders program. The second program we have at the high school, and we have about 100 students of the 300 in this program, is our expressive language program. So you'll see from the list of the 6 classes here, it's pretty identical to the founders program schedule of classes. The main difference here is that last bullet, that 6th class, is a specific class called oral expression. And this class helps to build word retrieval strategies and give students support in terms of language expression, formulation, that ability to elaborate, that ability to make sense of more implied inferential language, understanding multiple meanings, idioms, words with multiple meanings, those types of things. So it's almost like a group language therapy kind of class, and it's identified, for students who maybe have a diagnosis of an expressive language disorder or a communication disorder, and they really benefit from this specific language class. So that's the main difference in their day. Other than that, it's a pretty similar schedule to the kids in the founders program. The third program is a little bit different. It's called the prep program. We have usually between 40 and 50 students in our prep. And this program is designed to support the student who is now reading pretty fluently at grade level. They no longer need to work on basic decoding and reading fluency and spelling skills. This program is designed for the student who needs to focus more on the executive function, essay writing, research writing, study skills. So you'll see in the list here of classes that for the prep program that there is no one-to-one literacy tutorial because these students no longer require that. They are still taking math, science, and social studies. Their English class is called grammar and composition. And then they have a literature class and a study skills class. The pace, volume, and complexity does increase a bit more for the students in the prep because we know that they are reading pretty independently. They have a good sense of basic paragraph structure. They're able to put together a multi-paragraph essay, and they're ready for this kind of next step. So we have some new students every year that come to Landmark that start off directly in the prep program. Those students may not have a diagnosis of dyslexia, but they may have a diagnosis of a disorder of written expression and other language-based language processing weaknesses. Sometimes we have students that will start off in our traditional founders program or even the expressive language. And then as they gain skills, they may transition into the prep, or they may take a couple classes in the prep. What I want to emphasize is that we always move students along in the areas where they excel. And we always meet students where they still need remediation and provide that for them. So it really is about individualizing their programming during their years here at Landmark, monitoring their progress and moving them along when they're ready. Again, I just want to emphasize all 3 of these programs are college preparatory programs and preparing students for post-secondary. Again, just the level of remediation may vary depending upon which program they're in. Okay, so moving right along, study skills. It's embedded in everything we do here at Landmark. Again, it needs to be consistent across curriculum for it to be a good language-based program. So that executive function piece, teaching kids good study skills. We're working on 2-column notes. We're working on that 5-step writing process of how to go from a brainstorm to an outline to a rough draft to an edit to a final draft. Previewing effective vocabulary, learning how to paraphrase and learning good test taking strategies. Again, whether a student's in history, science, English language arts, math, whatever class, they're working on these skills. And we do try to provide all of our seniors with the senior study skills class before they graduate Landmark to really get them ready for the post-secondary experience, understanding some different things that they might be doing like through Canvas and things like that at the college level, learning how to take, what a syllabus looks like, how to take a long-term assignment and micro unit and break things down and conduct research. So again, really important that study skills are taught throughout the curriculum here. Another thing that's unique about our programming at Landmark is that every student has a person called an academic advisor. And the goal or the role of this person is to oversee students' academic schedules. They work very closely with the one-to-one tutorial teacher to help develop that diagnostic of goals. They go in regularly to observe and monitor progress. For any of the students on their caseload that are funded, they would be writing the IEP. And the advisor is the main contact person for the parents and the students. So anything that comes up, any concerns or questions about their classes, the students would go to the academic advisor. The parents can reach out to the academic advisor. The advisor stays with the student during their years at Landmark, so they get to know them very well. And they typically have a caseload of around 18 students. They do teach a couple periods a day as well. But the rest of the time is spent, going in to observe kids and check in on their students and write IEPs and that type of thing. Landmark has an amazing guidance and transition office. We start working with students as early as 9th grade to start talking about transition planning, doing interest inventories, finding out what the students' interests and passions may be that they might want to pursue. Starting junior year, students will have one-to-one weekly meetings with a guidance counselor. This is very personalized support. We're helping students again to identify, what they want to pursue, size of the school, level of support they may need or not need when they leave Landmark, getting the applications, writing the essays, getting the letters of recommendation. We take them through that whole process. It's a very hands-on process. All of our students that apply to college get accepted, and typically around 94% attend. Sometimes students may decide to pursue a trade or go into the military or do a gap year or something else, but most of our students are going off to 2 and mostly 4-year colleges and universities. I do want to talk about homework quickly. We give homework every night at Landmark. But the goal of homework is to allow students to have the opportunity to practice and review skills that have already been introduced in class. We really want to make it an independent process where students are not frustrated with their homework, but feel really successful with it, that they can manage it independently. We're not going to be giving them worksheets on things that they've never seen before. It's always a direct practice and review. Typically 9th, 10th graders will have about 15-20 minutes per subject. It's about an hour and a half total a night. It will increase a little bit more by junior, senior year. It does count as a big chunk of their grade at the high school, so it's important that they're getting it done. If a student misses an assignment, they go after school for 45 minutes to homework makeup to get caught up. We really don't want students getting 4 and 5 assignments behind. We really communicate and check up on, and the academic advisor is helping students with that process if they're struggling. I do want to just mention here that for students that live here at Landmark, it's an added bonus to be a residential student here, because they have the structured study hall at night, where they're in their rooms at their desk, and the teachers who do coverage in the evenings and the house parent and the other live-in faculty are here doing coverage and checking in and helping the students if they do need any support. So for kids who do have difficulty with executive function and time management, and living here in residence is a great way to support that and to teach those skills. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. So that's our academic piece. And for the students listening tonight, don't worry, I will get to the fun stuff soon. We are a full-fledged high school that has all of the extracurriculars, amazing things going on here at our high school. So I will talk about all the fun stuff soon. We have a commitment, I do want to mention, to diversity, equity, and inclusion here at Landmark. We're always striving to increase our diversity. We have representatives from the campus working to always promote this as a mission for our school. So I wanted to mention that, and also attracting students from around the globe. We have typically at least a half a dozen, if not more, different countries represented every year. We have usually 20 or so states represented, and we really want to, again, promote some cultural diversity here. And it's a great, again, part of living here at Landmark is that students come from all over and different backgrounds, and it's really wonderful. What I want to talk about now is what happens at Landmark when school gets out. Our school day is from 7:50 in the morning until 3:15 in the afternoon. I mentioned that the classes are 50 minutes each. It's the same set schedule every day. We don't rotate or anything. So when school gets out, for the students who are commuting, our day students, about 95% of them are staying after school for afternoon activities, whether it's sports, art, music. There's a ton of other clubs. I'm going to talk about all of that. Most of them will stay, and a lot stay through supper and choose to head home after rush hour. So our day students can really be on campus as much as they want to be. And I just want to throw that out there. In terms of, for the students who live here, who are boarding, we have a whole residential curriculum. And the goal of the residential curriculum is really to support aspects of time management and organization, self-advocacy, and problem solving, healthy decision making. So we work on something that's called a level system. And for new students coming to Landmark, whether they're coming in for 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, a new student is going to start off at level 1. There's going to be more structure at level 1. There's going to be more reminders about where they need to be and when they need to get there, and lights out at 10 o'clock for bedtime and all of those types of things. Every couple weeks, as a student meets the day-to-day expectations around time management and organization, and they're getting their homework done during study hall, every couple weeks, the student can request to move up to the next level. And as they move up levels, they gain privileges. And things become a lot more fun for the students here. So at the upper levels, like 5, once they get to level 5, they can have a fridge and TV in their room. They can have a gaming system. They can order takeout from local restaurants to be delivered. They get a later bedtime. They can, instead of being at their desk with their door open during study hall at the lower levels, at the upper levels, they can shut their door and be at their bed. Level 6 is kind of ultimate freedom, where you have to do a certain amount of community service hours. You have to get letters of recommendation for level 6 and prove yourself to be a very mature, responsible, and positive contributing member of the community. But level 6 students kind of structure their own time and have a lot more freedom. So we're teaching all of these life skills, these problem solving skills, these executive function and time management skills through our residential curriculum. And it's really an amazing program. And for the students who live here as boarding students, when they graduate Landmark, they really do go off to post-secondary education with a leg up on how to be successfully independent and manage themselves. Weekends, we have tons of trip opportunities where, we're 30 minutes north of Boston. We're right on the ocean. We're near local mountains for skiing and snowboarding in the winter. So we have trips, the malls nearby, and there's places to go, laser tag and rock wall climbing and paintballing and horseback riding, and everything's here. We have a great location. When the weather's nice, we're at the beach. So lots of trips and activities, things to do on the weekends, the movies, going to Chipotle, whatever the kids want to do. But the way the structure works after school for the kids that live here is that they have their afternoon activity. They're required to do something, whether it's a sport or something else. Then they have supper. Then they have some free time to hang out with friends on campus. And then they go back to their dorm and check in and get ready for structured study hall, which happens 8 to 9:30 at night. Okay, so I want to start now to talk about all of the fun stuff here at Landmark, okay, and pursuing your passions and all of the amazing opportunities and outlets that kids have here. We have an incredible visual arts department with all kinds of 2D, 3D media art, drawing, painting, printmaking, digital art, ceramics. We have photography. These are options as elective classes during the school day, because every student, besides those 6 academics that they have, they get an elective class in the day as well. So they can take these as elective classes, or they can be in the art building after school as their afternoon activity if they want. We have an amazing performing arts department with music and chorus and dance and drama and theater tech. Again, elective class options during the day, or they can be involved with performing arts after school as their afternoon activity. We have typically a fall and winter play production and a spring musical. There are music performances. It's fantastic. We do have 3 seasons of JV and varsity sports here at Landmark. We compete with about a dozen other private schools in the area. In the fall, we offer soccer, cross country, golf, and volleyball. In the winter, we have wrestling. We have basketball and indoor track. And then we also go to local mountains on Saturdays for skiing and snowboard. We have a ski and snowboard club in the winter months. And then in the spring for sports, we have tennis, we have baseball and sometimes softball. We have lacrosse, sailing, and outdoor track. So there are a lot of athletics to get involved with at Landmark. Let's see. We have a working auto mechanics shop on campus where kids can do auto mechanics as an elective, again, during the day, or be in the auto shop after school. We have woodworking and boat building. We also have an amazing Steamworks technology lab where we have things like animation and film production and kids doing stuff with the 3D printers and robotics and programming, all kinds of stuff that they can get involved with there. And we also offer our, traditional like PE gym class, and there's a basketball class and weightlifting class and yoga class. So lots of things to choose from. Let's see. We also have an incredible, robust community service program happening here where the kids, probably logging in about 5,000 hours a year of community service. There are service trips throughout the year, but there are all kinds of local opportunities for them to be involved with community service at Landmark. So that wraps up the information about the academic year. And then what I'd like to do now is talk about our 4-week amazing summer program that we have. We usually have between 50 and 55 students coming for summer, so it's smaller than the 300 for the school year. For the summer program, students entering grades 8 through 12 will be here versus the 9 through 12 for the school year. And there are 4 classes that are an hour long each that the students will take over the summer. They have that one-to-one tutorial that we talked about that they take during the school year. We have that over the summer. They have a language arts class, a math class, and then either an extra reading class or a study skills class, which again, we will decide based on the student profile and area of need. We have some students that will come for just a half day of academics to do those classes, stay through lunch, and maybe they'll stay through study hall because the study hall is in the afternoon for the summer program, different from the school year when it's at night. So sometimes students will just be doing the academic day program with us for the summer. We have some students who are day students but are doing an extended day program where they get to stay from 2:30 to 4:30 to do an activity Monday through Thursday. And then we have the majority of our students for summer here as boarding students, and then they're required to pick an activity in the afternoon. There are 5 amazing options for activities. Let me see if my next slide. Yeah. So we have a sea kayaking paddleboarding option. We have a marine explorations option. And they do some snorkeling, and we have an amazing visual arts option, a digital photography option, and then we also have a fitness option. And a lot of our, athletes like to do that for some preseason training. So a student would pick one of those 5 options for the 4 weeks of their summer program. And on the weekends here for the kids who live here for the summer, there's great trips that we plan. And they have a wonderful time. So typically on a given summer, we may have 15 to 20 students who are going to be new in the fall and are using the summer program as a way to transition in, especially if they're boarding for the first time. If we do have a student living here for the summer and they are going to be living here for the school year and they have a good summer with us, Those students would get to start off at level 2 instead of level 1 in the fall with some extra privileges. Also, if they connect with another student and they want to request each other as roommates, they can do that. So there are some nice benefits to starting for the summer program. That, 2/3 of our students that come for summer are students who might be doing okay where they are. It could really use a boost with some, writing skills and study skills to bring back with them. And so that's our summer program, and we still have the role of the academic advisor over the summer. And for the kids who live here, there's the residential advisor or the house parent as well. So things are highly structured and giving them a lot of good remediation and support. And it looks like I actually got through this about 5 minutes ahead of schedule. So we can definitely, I don't know if any administrators have jumped on the call yet, Katie, or if there are some initial questions that I can start answering, because I plowed through pretty quickly. Let me stop sharing this. Okay.
Great. Yeah, we got through a lot quickly. Families on the call, I know there's a lot to digest there, but we really are excited to help you flesh it out by answering some questions. So again, if you scroll to the bottom of the screen, you'll see that chat icon, that little thought bubble, and you can type in your questions there. Oh, good, Elizabeth. Yes, thank you. So
What do we
questions are
offer for
starting
mental
in.
health support for the students? I saw that question. Yeah, let me just answer that. So I should have mentioned that when I was going through the presentation. So we have, I think it's 6, if not more, full-time licensed social workers and counselors at our high school campus. About half of our students probably will utilize counseling staff in some capacity, whether it's weekly meetings or every few weeks or on an as needed basis. The goal of counseling here is really to help support and promote self-awareness in terms of students' learning profile, building self-esteem and self-advocacy so that students get more confident with asking for what they need. And, we do have students that may come to us with some mild, anxiety or depression due to previous struggles at other school placements. And so we're helping to build back up that, again, that self-esteem, that self-advocacy, that self-awareness. And that's really the goal of the counseling here. If a student has more primary social emotional concerns and needs something more intensive and more therapeutic, then Landmark probably is not the right fit for that student. Hopefully that answers the question.
Great. And there's a couple of some more questions coming in. Before we get to more questions though, Melody, we have 2 of our administrators who have joined the call. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we will keep peppering everyone with questions. Bill Barrett is the head of the high school. Bill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. And I was so excited to get a fishing question there. So I
was saving that one for you.
I appreciate that. It's good to see everyone here. Yes, my name is Bill Barrett. I'm head of the high school. This is my 8th year as head of the high school and my 26th year at Landmark School. So most of my career has been at Landmark School. I was a public school teacher for 5 years as well. My wife, Christine, also works at Landmark. It is her 26th year. She is a department head in our early literacy department. And we have 3 sons, but one of them went to Landmark actually for 2 years. And he is now a sophomore in college. So in a sense, I know what a big deal this is, to consider changing schools and to go to a program like ours. So I appreciate everyone spending the time here tonight. And I look forward to sharing, what I've learned and what I know about the school, I think both from the professional side and obviously from the personal side. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks for joining us, Bill. We also have Andrea Mead on the call. Andrea, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. My name is Andrea. I am one of the assistant deans of students here at Landmark High School. Similar to Bill, so I've been here for about 24 years. My husband also works here, so we're also a Landmark family. My husband's actually a graduate of Landmark many, many years ago. And we have 2 children. a son and a daughter, and our son started at the Landmarks Elementary Middle School in 6th grade, did middle school there, and is now at Landmark High School as well.
Thanks for being here, Andrea. Guys, we have so many great questions coming in. This is really exciting. Andrea, can we stick with you and ask a question about electronics? So the question is, how are electronics monitored? Or are they monitored?
So
You
yeah.
want to tackle that?
And so the parent of a teenager, yeah, I totally get it. Sometimes electronics tends to be the bane of our existence. And you probably all know, I see some of you shaking your head. So it's always like this catch-up game. Sometimes they're always one step ahead of us. But at the same time, the electronics are definitely a good tool. So we use laptops a lot. Their phones can also be a wonderful tool when used appropriately. But in general, Landmark has a content filter. So within that content filter, there are certain, websites and things that students can access through our system during the school day. So depending on residential students, day students, so we do have different content filters during different times of the day. So during the academic school day, things like shopping sites are turned off. There's no access to those. And then in the evening too, when we have study hall at nighttime for the residential students, we also flip on and off those content filters to certain areas. However, I will always also be upfront about the fact that the phones, we don't control their phones. So Landmark, we can control kind of where they are within the Landmark network. And through those filters, but when it comes to their phones and they're, using the internet with the phones, there are parental controls that you can put on those phones, but it's very difficult for us to monitor the internet use with the phones. I mean, we do education about those tools and those electronics, and we also work with individual students. So I think you probably have already heard that individualization is one of our strengths. So depending on whether or not your student is having a more challenging time monitoring their own electronics, we can also work with you to put in more, constraints with those electronics if need be.
Thanks, Andrea. Do you have energy? One more quick question, and then I'll introduce Ariel. Laundry. Do residents do their laundry?
Yeah, I would say it's about half and half. So we have half of the residents will do their own laundry. It's very cute. My office is actually right across from the laundry room that's in two of the male dormitories. So it's kind of cute when they come in, like you can tell they're not quite sure what to do. So the teachers are in their dorms. We do help them separate colors and whites, although for most of them, it doesn't really become an expectation for them to do. But so half of them will do their own laundry. There are laundry machines in each of the dorms. And then about the other half of the students, we do have a laundry service that's optional. So if families do want to sign up for the laundry service, there's a day that the service comes to pick up their laundry bags. And then a few days later, they come and drop the bags back off with clean laundry. So both, I would say, for residential students, yeah, the chance of them dragging big laundry baskets home on Friday afternoon, if you're taking them home for the weekend, is a pretty normal sight for us to see as the kids leave for the weekend, those big laundry bags.
Thanks, Andrea. I'd love Ariel Martin-Cohn, our academic dean, to say hello.
Hello, thanks for being here. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. I'm the academic dean at the high school, so I can speak to any questions about scheduling, classes, tutorials, anything related.
Assistive technology?
Assistive technology, I can speak to that, sure.
There was a really good question that came in about how we incorporate assistive technology into our programming.
So we do it In a couple different ways. We are, especially during, I guess we're still during COVID, but hopefully post-COVID, we've learned a lot about everyday technology use. So we're a Google-based school. We use Google Docs, we use Google Classroom, we use Gmail. So students learn a lot of those standard technological skills or tech literacy skills. And then as their profile necessitates and their post-high school plans dictate, we start to incorporate actual elements of assistive technology. Like we have a school-wide account for Bookshare that gives students access to text-to-speech if it's easier for them to listen to certain texts. But since we're a remedial school, we really use that as a strategic tool, not as a replacement for instruction. So students are definitely on computers and working with technology, but not using apps or programs in place of doing tasks that they can do themselves. And then as they get into their senior year, we're absolutely helping to think about what tools, apps, programs, accommodations are going to help them find the most success post-high school, whether that's employment, college, military, travel, whatever it's going to be. We want them to be ready because there are a lot of really amazing tools out there. We just don't want to miss a chance to remediate while we can.
Thanks, Ariel. Andrea, do we allow skateboarding, and is there a skateboarding club?
Yeah, so we do have students who skateboard with helmets, which tends to be the biggest kind of area of friction with the skateboarders. We don't have like a formal skating area, but there is one spot on campus that's away from traffic where the skateboarders will typically go. Each year it's a little bit different. I think Landmark tends to form I saw in the chat bar, like the question about clubs. So we tend to form clubs around student interest. So there are some things that are very consistent that I could tell you, like our woodworking, auto mechanics, we will offer every athletic season, activity season consistently throughout the year. But most of the other clubs will kind of shift and change as the students have different interests. So we have had skating clubs in the past. We don't currently have one now. But if there's an interest for that, then we usually will find a way to create a club. In the past, usually the students have I do not know skateboard lingo, I apologize. They'll build ramps or, jump things. So again, like in this area, it's a little bit of a confined area because most of our campus is main road. But in that area, they have built jumps in the past and congregated in different spots on campus.
And Andrea, I think the fishing club kind of originated that way, right? We didn't have that in the past, and then we had some new students come in, express an interest, and I think it kind of grew from there, right?
Yeah, so this past fall, it kind of ebbs and flows. This past fall, we had about 9 or 10 students do fishing club in the fall because there was such a high interest. Yes.
Bill, would you like to talk about something other than fishing? Your only question so far. There was a great question about, are we accepting students coming in transitioning for sophomore or junior year instead of that traditional freshman entry point? Can you talk about how our students do transitioning in when they're not ninth graders?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the things we do is that we dedicate the first 4 school days to orientation. And that's really, whether it's day student orientation, whether it's residential orientation, our belief is really that if students are going to be able to access curriculum, they need to feel comfortable on campus. They need to settle in. They need to know what the rules and expectations are. They need to meet some friends. They need to be able to know their way around campus. And that really includes our returning students too, but especially our new students. So we really spend those first 4 days involved in various activities on campus, off campus, smaller groups, larger scale assemblies. And again, I'm speaking to thinking about this fall, hopefully being a little bit more normal than we've had in the past couple of years. And so whether a student is coming in as a freshman or as a sophomore or a junior, really that time is going to be dedicated task of helping them settle in. We also have dedicated new student workshops that we do in September. So in a sense, really, it doesn't matter the age of the student when they're coming into our campus, that they are going to be brought into our program, this in a lot of the same way.
Katie, can I just add to I forgot to mention this during the presentation, but for a typical year for us, we're taking over 70 new students to the high school. There's a lot of new kids coming in. So that first week of orientation that Bill's talking about, I mean, that whole sense of for a new student feeling nervous and anxious and needing to fit in, there's so many kids feeling the exact same way because there's such a large number of new students. And again, students coming in, a lot of kids for 10th and 11th grade, not just 9th grade. So.
Ariel, we've got some students coming in, but if you could address this quickly, there were some really good questions about the summer program. So how many 8th graders typically, and are they separated from the other students? Is there a parent visit week? Just, a little bit more about the class size during the summer. Anything you want to share about that is appreciated. And then we'll introduce you.
Sure. So the summer program is a much smaller group. It's usually about 50 to 54 kids staffed by full-time Landmark faculty. We carry over the advisor model for department heads to oversee the classes that are offered around language arts, math, and then students either take study skills or reading and a one-on-one tutorial. Classes are grouped roughly by age. So 8th graders are usually in classes with other 8th graders or potentially with rising 9th graders. We certainly wouldn't put a rising 11th grader or junior and an 8th grader in the same class because their skills and their kind of awareness would be at a different place. The passing times, meal times, the whole community can gather. So for milk break and lunch, people can kind of find each other and based on shared interest. And then residents, we're definitely housing with an eye towards age, interest, personality. After school activities are filled by student or family interest. So we may have a larger spread of age within those groups, but they're small groups, 6 to 8 kids per faculty member, very closely overseen, short periods of time. And we generally find that kids really quickly and easily engage with each other because there's such a shared experience and understanding of what it's like to be a middle schooler or soon to be high schooler with an LBLD. So I feel like there was another aspect you asked about, Katie.
Is there a parents visit?
Oh, thank you. So we have parent conferences at the end of the program. So the Thursday before the program ends, we've done them virtually the past couple of years, but previously the parents could come to campus to meet with their teachers, their children's teachers. They also are welcome on campus at the beginning of the program for sort of our mini orientation and get their child moved in. But we don't have scheduled or formal visits during the program since it's only a month. So you drop off on a Sunday and 4 weeks later, you're picking them up on a Friday. And they can certainly go home over the weekends if that works best. Our weekend trips are pretty great. And I think kids generally find them really fun.
Thank you, Ariel. All right, I want to introduce our students. Our 3 panelists were all early, which is incredible. Thank you, students. Administrators, if you don't mind, I know I missed some good questions in the chat. So if you have the cognitive energy to look through and see if I've missed anything and respond, that would be great. Elizabeth, you had an excellent question about the oversight and the boarding, and then walking us through dorm life. I'm gonna have that be one of the first questions directed at the students as well, because they'll be really good about answering that. So first to be introduced, Gavin Sullivan. I'm going to ask you to unmute. You're going to introduce yourself, saying where you're from, how long you've been at Landmark, what year you are. All the students on the call today are residents, so you don't need to worry about that. And then some of the things you're involved in at Landmark. And I'll prompt you if you forget that long list. Take it away, Gavin.
Hello, my name is Gavin Sullivan. I'm a sophomore. This is my first year at Landmark. In my free time, I guess for sports and stuff, I like to, I'm a runner, so I like to, I've been doing cross country and winter track.
Where are you from, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm from Vermont.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to introduce the others, but the first question coming to you next is about residential life. Okay, thanks for being here. All right. I think I saw Ethan joining us from Porter Dorm. Ethan, do
Yeah.
you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Ethan Carteret. I'm from Swampscott, Massachusetts. I'm a senior. I've been here for 8 years, and I participate on varsity golf. I'm doing winter track, varsity lacrosse, invent team, debate, kind of the whole 9 yards.
Thanks for joining.
Of course.
All right. Olivia, did I see you?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Yes, my name's Olivia. I'm from Quincy, Mass. I've been at Landmark for 7 years. I'm a senior and I participate in varsity volleyball and lacrosse.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So students, the first question was walking the families on the call through residential life. So your experience, what it feels like to be a boarder. Olivia, this would be a good one for you because you've had the experience of being a day student, doing the commute from the city, and now you live here. Can you kind of walk us through the difference?
Yes, so this is my second year boarding. I started boarding my sophomore year and would have continued to my junior year, but because of COVID, boarding wasn't available. But the previous years that I've been at Landmark, I've commuted from Quincy back and forth to Landmark, and it was like an hour and a half. It was brutal. It's just not the right move. So then last minute, my sophomore year, I decided to start boarding, and it is literally the best thing ever. It's going to prepare me for college next year. I've met so many new friends through boarding, and it's really awesome. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it. Highly recommend.
Landmark.
If I had to,
Yeah.
could I pitch in?
Please.
So I was also a day student from my freshman year to junior year, and this is my first year living on campus as a senior. And like Olivia, I don't live as far as Olivia. I live in Swampscott. It's like maybe 25 minutes. But I've always wanted to live on campus ever since I started at Landmark. It's one of the best decisions I think I've ever made. I love living in the dorms. All the boys, we have so much fun together. When we participated in community nights, playing flag football, the dorm made a whole team. And sorry.
Gavin, take it away.
So yeah, I'm in the campus cottage, which is one of like the, I guess, the lower schooler, like sophomore freshman dorms. So I'm living with a whole bunch of like 14 to like 16-year-olds. So
Great. And I'm going to put it back to Ethan. He can finish his thought and we'll come back to you.
All the kids on trash duty are knocking on the doors. But no, I love it. Like you have a little bit, some requirements, like taking out the trash, keeping your room neat, of course, like things you would do at home, making your bed. But it's really nothing different than it would be living at home. Honestly, liked it more living here. I don't go home on the weekends. Everyone's like, you must be crazy living so close, not going home. But I enjoy it way more here.
Awesome.
So.
Thanks for sharing. Gavin, as someone who can't go home as easily, do you still enjoy staying for the weekends?
no, yeah, it's pretty great. They have like a whole bunch of like trips that go out over the weekends. Like sometimes they take us to movies. We go to Target, the mall. The mall's a lot of fun. Yeah, but they really find ways to like keep us entertained, and it's pretty amazing. I'm not really ever bored here, so it's been nice.
This question was meant for you, Gavin, because I always see you eating. How is the food?
Yeah, I'm quite I like to eat a lot of food.
Because you run so fast. You have
Yeah, running definitely takes a lot out of you, so I'm constantly just eating a lot of food. This catering staff is like very catering to like dietary restrictions. Like I'm a vegetarian, so they always have like different meal options that are available, and so that's very nice. Yeah.
Other students, what do you think of the food? You can be honest.
Like Gavin, I run winter track with him. Definitely been noticed I've been eating a lot more. I've had to like start taking protein shakes just as I've been losing a lot of weight running, and I've definitely been eating a lot more. But like tonight we had chicken marsala for dinner. It's one of my favorites. I probably ate 3 or 4 plates of that. So it's definitely real good. And the staff is always so nice. Like if you have any issues, they're very understanding and don't have a problem like helping you out. They understand that everyone's needs are different. So I have like a couple friends that are like gluten free, and they always have plenty of options for students that are gluten free or whatever you need.
Nice. I think that pretty much covers it. Families, keep populating questions that you want to hear from the students. But while I have Ethan and Olivia, I think families are always interested. What's your plan for next year, seniors?
I can go first, or if you want to, Olivia.
No, you can go.
Okay. So I plan on going to college. I applied to SIT schools, kind of keeping it narrow. At the beginning of the process, I was like, SITs is probably enough. Like, I don't want to overdo it. I know some kids that applied to like 20 odd schools. So I don't want to deal with that. Writing the supplement essays for these SIT schools were enough. And the guidance department did a good job. I was very close with my guidance counselor because I had him as a teacher the previous year, and he understood what I was looking for, and what my goals were. Some of them were a little far-fetched, but it's never a problem. And so I've gone into 3 schools: Roger Williams, Westfield State, and Bryant. And so right now, Bryant and Westfield State are kind of the top 2. I still have to hear back from a couple more. But
Do you know what you're going to study?
yeah, either economics or finance. So I've taken Mr. Murphy's economics class this year.
Right.
Great class, preparing me. So and it kind of just mocks what we would experience next year. He doesn't give us any leverage. He doesn't take it very easy, but that's what you need, the experience for next year, because the professors are not going to take any pity on you if you miss an assignment or do not know what they want you, do not meet their expectations. So, but yeah, I plan on going to college. I'll pass on to Olivia.
I plan on going to college next year. I applied to 13 schools, and I got into all of them, which is great besides 3. I'm waiting to hear back from 3. I'm going for nursing, which is very exciting. Right now I'm taking anatomy, which is great. I love my teacher, Mr. Walker. He's definitely hardcore, and it's definitely a difficult class, but I really do enjoy it. And I am very excited next year to head to college. And I have no idea where I'm going yet. So working on that too.
You got lots of choices. That's great, Olivia. Congrats.
Thank you.
Also,
Gavin,
like, if I
go
can
ahead.
add to that real quick.
Yeah.
Also, like your junior year, I had a good idea of what I wanted to do and what I wanted my schedule to be senior year. So I knew for sure I did not want to take a science, chemistry junior year, beat my butt. But I knew I wanted to take maths, so I take probability and statistics and pre-calc this year with economics, which is essentially just another math, but it's considered a history. But as long as you know what you want to do and you address that to your academic advisors, they do their best to fit that in your schedule. I definitely got all the classes I wanted, maybe not the specific teachers, but like at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. I'm still learning the same material. So I thought that was important.
No, great addition for sure. Gavin, some of the families were wondering about, for students who don't join as 9th graders, how that transition goes. How do you feel it went for you coming in as a 10th grader?
Oh, so well, not luckily, but I came in like right after the pandemic, so basically everybody here was new. So that helped a lot. But they do like a week-long like orientation where you just basically are just meeting everybody, and it's pretty great. That's everybody that I met from orientation, like we're now buds, we're friends, and yeah, it's pretty great. So the transition was pretty quick and smooth, and yeah.
So guys, I assume that there's some kids on this call that are like, not so much, not sold. And I know that's really common, and that's okay that you're it's a big change thinking about going to Landmark. For a student who's on the fence or not knowing if this is for them, what would you say in terms of encouragement, or good or bad? What are your thoughts?
I'd say like your outcomes are only going to be as successful as much like effort you put in to like get to know people. So if you're at orientation, you just want to don't make the effort to go and introduce yourself to new students, then you're obviously going to have a harder time with the transition. But if you get everyone to know your name, people are going to, you're sitting down at lunch, like everyone's just going to come and sit around you because they know someone. They might not know a whole lot of other people, but they know you. So they are going to feel comfortable sitting down with you. So I'd say that's pretty important. But also, like, a lot of students that come here, it's their first year, they are in a new environment. So a lot of people are shy. So you're in, like, it's not uncommon. So like people are in the same position as you. And if you make the efforts, hopefully they'll be rewarded.
Great. Anything to add, guys, before we talk about the health center? Ooh.
I don't know. I think Landmark, I came in 6th grade, so I didn't really have an option of where I wanted to go for middle school because my mom made the decision, but I'm very grateful because honestly, if I was in public school, I would not be getting into all these nursing schools. And I don't know where my life would be. I wouldn't be the same person I am today. And I'm very grateful for Landmark for doing all they did for me. And I do believe that Landmark is a great school and you should definitely consider it.
Awesome. Gavin, you want to talk about meds?
Oh yeah. So me, I am at the health house a lot. I because of like cross country and everything, I have to get my protein somehow. I'm also a vegetarian, so that doesn't really help. So I'm always over there getting some protein, and basically there's like a local pharmacy, Allen's Pharmacy, like they automatically, get prescription medicine for you, and like it delivers to the campus, so you don't have to like go out of your way if you're not able to get more over the weekend, which is really nice. Basically, you
What
just come
happens if
over.
you're sick, Gavin?
Oh, when you're sick,
Yeah.
they have I mean, they'll take care of you. They have like this little place in the back where you can hang and I also have like a specific COVID center. If you have COVID, like it's like a quarantine area. Yeah.
Great.
So, like Gavin, I also take protein powder because just running, like, lose so much weight. So I think that's a with a lot of students, a lot of kids take protein powder. So they're like, I just want to keep it in my room. Like after a workout, I just want to be able to go back to my room, not have to get my bottle, down to the nurse and get it. But it's not that huge of a problem, honestly. I go there in the morning as well to get some medicine, and I go there a lot for ice to ice my knees after running. Usually always sore, but they're very accommodating. They're very nice. Even if I'm not in the office. So.
So this leads to the next question about are teachers available to help after after school hours. We can find out who that was, but I'm sure it was a teacher available to help. Olivia, do you want to explain how you access your teachers outside of school?
Yes. So if I ever need help with anything after school, I can always email my teachers, and they're very accommodating. Teachers that usually don't stay after school, they are very flexible, and they could say, like, oh, well, I can meet you before class, or we could maybe possibly set up a Zoom meet, or I can email you, or whatever. But also, you can ask in the dorm. We have like live-ins and teachers on coverage, and so like right now downstairs there's a math teacher on coverage, so if I was having trouble with math homework, I could go downstairs and I can ask her questions, or if she wasn't able to help and there was another math teacher teaching who teaches trigonometry or whatever, they can call them and be like, hey, like Olivia needs help with her math homework. Can I send her over to Lepardo so you can come help her? And everybody's very accommodating, and there's always somebody that can help you with your homework after school or whatever you need help with. And yeah, you can always find someone to help you.
What was the question, Jen? Sorry, I was.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
So it was ironic because it said our teacher's available to help. And I said, I assumed that was a teacher knocking on your
Yeah.
door. Was I right?
It was. Yeah, it was
So what
Mr.
was it?
Winslow.
Mr. Winslow. So can you,
Yeah.
how about this? Can you explain the role of house parent? What
Yeah.
Mr. Winslow does?
So Mr. Winslow is the house parent of Porter, and we have two other live-in staff, Mr. Hammond and Mr. Mattis. And so Mr. Winslow is kind of like in charge of everything, and Mr. Hammond and Mr. Mattis are kind of his assistants. They help out with any problems that occur, and they also help him divvy up the night shift for coverage. And like if we have any problems, we go to Mr. Winslow. I was just talking to him because I'm trying to get level 6, so I was discussing that with him after this. But your house parents are always easy to get a hold of, either via email or if you, like Mr. Winslow says, we can knock on his door at any time to talk about anything, or they come knocking on your door. So it's easy to get a hold of them. They're very understanding, accommodating, and yeah, that kind of sums it up. But
Very
I had a piece for what Olivia was saying, so I assume that was about help from
Yeah,
teachers
homework
after
help.
school.
Yeah.
So Tuesday nights, I have Miss Walkowitz for both math classes, prom stats and pre-calc, and she runs the after school study hall during study time. And Jed and I always go down, and we like to get our homework done there. Just for like, Jed and I are sure we can do the work. It's always like just reassuring to have a teacher there, and they can look over your shoulder and make sure you're doing it right. But a lot of the times, I like to go down to Lop Lounge or Dudley. They sometimes open it up and you can have like a study hall with some of your friends and get work done. But a lot of the times I end up doing my work during free time just because I have a lot of it. So I'm not like, I like to rest before I actually have to go to bed. So I don't go from doing 3 hours of homework right to bed. So I think it also comes down to like time management and how you want to structure your day and get all your work done. But like we were saying, there's always teachers around to help you do whatever you need to do. So
And freshmen don't have 3 hours of homework. Gavin, do you get 3 hours of homework?
Not really. The only homework I mean, it's more like 10 minutes, honestly, from like each class. So it's honestly not that bad.
Great.
it's not to like scare you away. It's not 3 hours every night. Like so I take language arts, student advocates, and tutorial, and I read a book in each class. And two of them have a syllabus where we have to have a chapter read for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So like 2 of those nights I have to be reading. So sometimes that takes up a little time, and I like to maybe get ahead on the reading. So one night I won't have to read to give me a little free time. So you kind of have to just sacrifice what you think is most valuable to you, your free time, or like getting a lot of work done at once in order to have more free time. So
Well said. So families, we're going to dismiss these students in the next minute or two because 8 p.m. starts their study hall. But if there are any other pressing questions from the student perspective, I'd love to throw them out there to these guys. Students, you've been so thoughtful, as always. You guys blow me away. Thank you for giving your time and talking to strangers about
Thank
your
you guys
lives.
so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been great
I'm
to
just
hear.
looking at the chat to see if there's any other pressing questions, but I think you guys really hit on some of the major themes about what it's like to live on campus. Oh, this is a good one. Do you still talk to your parents?
So
Yeah.
I haven't gone home in a long time. Honestly, the latest I've been home, I was on a trip and we were just near Swampscott, and I was like, oh, I need to pick something up. Can we stop by my house? And so the teacher stopped by and I was able to get what I needed. So that's the last time I saw my parents. But
Drive by.
yeah, it was like a bus full of 12 kids, but my parents didn't mind. But like during the college process, when I was getting into schools, I was like, there's just always so much going on. I was like, I should probably tell my parents that I'd gone to the school. But then just time goes by and it's like 3 days later, I was like, I haven't told my parents, tell them I'd gone to the school yet. So I should probably do that. But I've gotten better about calling them, either because my mom's texting me saying she needs to talk to me about something, or I have the time on my hands that I can talk to them. But I've gotten better about it.
I talk to my parents pretty much every day and I go home every weekend. So I see them quite often. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's a 8-hour train ride to see my parents, and going home for the weekend isn't really much of an option. So yeah, I usually call my parents quite a bit. I haven't called them in like 3-4 days, but yeah, I kind of forgot to. I'm gonna do that after this.
Good plan. Students, thank you so much for giving up your free time to share your experiences with families. I'm sure it's really valuable. So I'll let you guys get back to study hall. Thank you again, and we appreciate you. Lots of words of thanks coming in. So well done, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully, families, that was helpful. Clearly, it's not scripted. It's just them doing their thing in their dorms. So we're glad we could give you a little insight into their lives on a typical Wednesday evening. I'm conscientious of everyone's time. I know it's been a long night and a lot of information to digest, so we won't keep you long. But if you want to continue any questions you have in the chat, if we don't get to you tonight, we have your email address so we can follow up with you individually. You have our contact information, so you are welcome to reach back out to us. But I'll turn it back to Melody in case she wants to briefly reiterate the application process if you want to move forward in applying for the summer program or the academic year.
Yeah, and I'm noticing this question that just came in about students from further away, like West Coast, do they stay on campus or go home? And there are 3 times a year, I think, and Bill can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's 3 times a year that we shut down, so to speak. So the whole week of Thanksgiving, campus closes. We typically have a full 2 weeks. I think maybe this year coming up might be slightly different with the holiday, but usually it's full 2 weeks at winter break in December around Christmas time, and then our spring break is 2 weeks in March. So those are the 3 times a year that students need to leave campus, and campus shuts down. Usually students from West Coast or further away will go home those few times a year, but they may also decide, if they become good friends with somebody who lives on campus also, but they're closer by, they may go with them for the Thanksgiving week or a day student that they're friends with or something. So, there's lots of students going to other students' houses during different points of the year as well. So hopefully that answers that question. So just as Katie mentioned, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know it's a big chunk of your time on a Wednesday night. And again, it is a lot of information. So feel free to reach out to us at a later date with individual more specific questions if you need to. As I mentioned at the beginning, our application process, we do require a number of pieces of information, but we will walk you through that. We work on a rolling basis. There's no specific application deadline. I mentioned it's one application, whether you're looking at summer or school year or both. And once we have that application, we will start emailing you. Our office will be in touch about what records we have and what we still need in order to complete the application. So again, we'll walk you through that whole process. So, oh, there was a question about commuter rail.
Thank you guys so much. To leave the call, you hit the red leave button. And again, we'll be sending you the recording in case you want to share. But we appreciate you taking the time to learn and explore Landmark with us.
And please get your applications to us as soon as possible.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. And thanks to the admin, Bill, Andrea, Ariel. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.